Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to my garden. I hope you enjoyed the entire garden tour video that I just shared with you, and what might look as if it just happened, in reality there was a week in between from then and now, because I knew that I'll be leaving here for a week. So I prepared some videos in advance, because I'm never sure if I really told you, but I was living in Amsterdam for 5 years when I was still employed as a fashion designer there. And what I did is, my best friend still lives there, so I went there and visited her for a couple of days. It was wonderful. It was so great to be back in Amsterdam. Thank you so much for hosting me, Natalie, by the way, and also for arranging the entire tour program. So we had like gander through the town, had a little shop around, had like great like brunch and lunch and dinner and ice cream and whatever you want to have. So I was like very satisfied when I returned. And as much as it is nice to go away, it's even better sometimes to go away and then come back after a week, because you are amazed how much happens in a week in the garden. Look at my back, the geraniums, they all came to bloom suddenly out of nothing. I was like, oh my God, the front garden is almost like a different side. I'm so amazed what can happen here just in a week, even though you see I'm still wearing a sweater. So yeah, the temperatures are still a little bit on the mild side. Haven't really had a very hot day, but at least during the week when I was gone, we had plenty of rain here, which was good for the garden, also good for me, so I'm not like missing out on any nice garden day. And the lawn kind of looks green again, which is so wonderful, because when I left, the lawn was really in a state where I was like, ooh, I'm not really sure if it's already kind of like brown and crunchy at this time of the year. I'm a little anxious how it's going to look in August, but so far so good. It's very nice. And I was just checking underneath all the mulch, because all of my flower beds have a thick layer of mulch, well, some a little thicker than other areas, but the soil is moist, it's nice, and that means it's perfect for planting. And I went to the garden center to buy maybe 1 or 2 things, and basically had an entire carload of beautiful things, obviously. Who surprised? Nobody. So what I want to do in today's video is I want to plant, and I want to plant something that is kind of trending around for a while already. I mean, it's Coleus. And for me, Coleus was always this plant that was like on my grandma's windowsill. So I always kind of thought it was a little dainty and a little uncool and not really fashionable. And especially I always wanted to take that plant and be just like, whew, just like take the dust away, because it was literally standing there and it kind of lost the color over the weeks, and suddenly it was more on the grayish side rather than on like, I don't know, bright color foliage. But last year I thought, you know what, just give it a go, try it, and I'm completely convinced. Coleus is amazing because it also fills a gap in the garden where you sometimes can't really plant a lot of like big bloom perennials, because Coleus likes to thrive in a specific area, and it also brings an amazing element of texture and so much joy to a border. So what I want to do obviously first is just give you a quick tour on where I want to plant and what kind of Coleus I want to plant, but don't expect names, because I'm still buying those here in the local garden center. So I was happy that it said Coleus and not just flower, because I was expecting that at least there was a Coleus label on there. So that's already a step forward. But whatever it is, it's going to be beautiful. Hope you're excited to join me in today's video. Isn't this just absolutely beautiful? And all these colors basically sum up my entire spring garden. So we have the bearded iris here. This is the variety called English Cottage. It is a rebloomer, and pretty much every single year it honestly reblooms in autumn again. I just love the color of it, how delicate it is, kind of like pale purple, whitish, and then the beard very, very light yellow. So definitely one of my favorite iris you could possibly have, and I have big clumps of those in the garden. And then the dwarf lilac with a little garden shed in the back, looks so romantic. And the catmint, Nepeta, Walker Slow, this is the one variety that I absolutely fell in love with, and it's kind of like everywhere in the garden in big drifts. But isn't that quite a change? I mean, I just showed you the entire garden, and it is a week later now, and I think it is just a sight of abundance almost. I'm really amazed how fast everything suddenly grew. But I want to put Coleus in the ground today, and the first big clump is going to go in here. This is exactly where I planted Coleus last year, and I think pretty much the same variety. And you can tell it's a little windy, so the first pot already tipped over. There you go. So let me just give you a closer look at them. Aren't they just beautiful? So exciting to see all this like leaf variegation, like with the chartreuse on the outline, and then like this brownish tone, and then really pink towards the inside. And I really enjoyed this look last year here, because you can tell when we just look at the rest of the border, it is an ocean of greenery basically. There is a cotinus in there, so whoa, there is a cotinus, and then obviously you have the color accent of blooms, but in terms of foliage, everything is kind of just like a little one-dimensional, I think. So just adding the Coleus in here really just brought this excitement and something that I absolutely needed. And then if I swing around, you get to see the new perennial border. You can't really see a lot of mulch anymore. It really starts to fill up now. The new herbaceous border, you see some containers standing there. I'm not going to plant that, and I'm not going to show you what it is. I just put them there just like to let it sink in, digest it, and see how much I'm going to love it. But here are more Coleus. So this is a red variety, and I'm so thrilled that I could get so many. So there are 10 here, and I think there are 10 or 9 in another location. I wanted to have these last year, but I couldn't get my hand on them, which is a nice one. This is a good one. Look at that. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? Like perfect crimson red, ruby red glowing. And then this fine outline of like chartreuse green here. So thrilled with this. The idea actually of this border is that maybe in the future, I want to transform this part of the garden and really focus on tones of like blue and peach and apricot. So obviously crimson red is not really in the color palette, but I'm not going to really plant anything here that is in this color palette this year. So I thought, you know what, the Coleus might be really beautiful here. Last year, I think I had the phlox there in the front row, like annual phlox, and I was really not thrilled by that. It was cute for cut flowers, but it was not a nice plant in a border. So I think the Coleus will be really wonderful in here, because then I have like the cadmium. I planted the beautiful asters there with you. There is some veronicastrum, so I think that'd be just a wonderful addition and really something that I was absolutely missing in there. And the last clumps, I'm going to take you with me obviously to the slope. How can I plant something without planting anything here in the back of a garden? And I already planted a little bit without you, guilty as charged. But I thought, you know what, I already planted petunias with you, so it wouldn't be exciting just to do the same thing again. So I have a drift of petunias here now. And I think that they will look absolutely fantastic, because I hope that they will start just to spill over the beautiful black landscape fabric and mask it a little bit, or at least as good as they can. And I already feel that this is a really wonderful early summer, late spring color combination here. First roses start to bloom. This is Rose rugosa, Thérèse Bonnier. It's a double. They are centered. Beautiful, full of buds. I'm really excited to see how they're all going to come to bloom very soon. Then the bearded iris, no idea about the variety. A friend gave it to me a while ago, and I think I had one rhizome like 3 years ago, and now out of one rhizome I have this entire clump here. And then the really beautiful dark Aquilegia. I think it's all a wonderful contrast here, and now with this really beautiful kind of like cooler blue purple tone of the petunias. And I can show you, it honestly just came to bloom, even though I haven't seen it. First, almost black bearded iris also comes to bloom now. So I think there's going to be a really wonderful drift with all of those bearded iris once they come to bloom in combination with the plants that I just showed you. And there you see more petunias, and in the back there I want to plant more of those beautiful Coleus, because I think that they'll be just a wonderful addition. I will have the petunias here. I'm going to have red snapdragons there, where you can't really see a lot though. Just a little bit. See, these are the snapdragons that I planted with you. Already kind of like looking a little bigger and better to what they looked a while ago. And then here I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, well, just 8. 8 Coleus. I just bought all of them that I had in the garden center. I just quickly came with my little shopping cart and just threw all of them in there, so nobody could get the same variety, because I was just so happy about them. Yeah, this is what I want to do. Plant a little bit here and there, but first I want to give you some key details and information about the Coleus. If you make the decision to introduce Coleus to your garden, you don't make that to have great impact on blooms, because they have blooms, but they are very cute and delicate. So they're not kind of like amazing. So obviously Coleus, you really bring it into your garden for foliage, accent and texture. And this is something that I kind of wasn't focusing on for quite some years. I already had hostas here in the garden, so I grow Hosta Patriot. That is a variety with a white leaf variegation, which is really beautiful. It kind of like lightens up darker corners, and I'm really enjoying it. But I think Coleus just brings something different to the game. And for me, probably since my grandma always had it on her windowsill, I really underestimated the power of these beauties, because they come in a wide range of amazing colors. Just going to the garden center today, I was like, okay, what to choose literally, because I think they just had a truckload full of different variety of Coleus. leaf textures are different, the shape of the leaf is different, and the coloring is different. Most of them really come in these beautiful shades of like dark red and pink, then with accents of chartreuse and green, but some of them, they were almost like brown and rusty looking, kind of like burnt caramel. Very intriguing, not really my color palette here, but I thought, ooh, might be really nice with some sort of like peachy tone, even orange. I don't really love orange, but I thought with those kind of Coleus, I thought maybe that might be a really wonderful combination. So those little things can be a game changer in your mind of things that you normally would not really plant in your garden. Definitely interesting is the leaf texture because they are kind of like a little velvety and fluffy. This also says a lot about where they like to grow, because Coleus, they can cope well with sun. Here in my climate zone, I am in a zone 7B. I always need to say that as well. It is kind of mild here. So I'm just like at the south coast of the Baltic Sea in the north of Poland. It is a microclimate here, so it is an average during winter already a little bit warmer to if you are, for example, like 50 kilometers further south, which is wonderful, but still they do not really appreciate to sit in the full basking sun of lunchtime. I put them in the position just underneath the walnut tree last year, and they pretty much get the late afternoon and evening sun there. In the other areas, they will get like the morning sun, but none of them are really going to be exposed to the full sun of lunchtime, because the leaves might start to burn and then they start to wilt. And the second thing that is quite intriguing about these is this one already has a little bit of a flower spike. So I told you, you will definitely plant these because of the foliage and because the foliage is beautiful. And kind of the same thing on what you might want to do with hostas. If you want to have a plant with beautiful foliage, you do not want that the plant loses any energy of producing these flower spikes. So with hostas, sometimes I get in there and cut the flowers off, put them in the vase because they're beautiful. I don't always do that, but I can tell you those hostas where I just nip the flowers off, they produce better, stronger leaves. And the same applies here to Coleus, because if I come in and nip the flower head off, the plant thinks, oh my God, I'm not going to produce any offspring. Alert, alert, I need to like branch out and try to produce more new flower spikes. And this is exactly what you want to do and can do. So if I come in here and just nip this off, away it goes. And there are 2 on the side as well, so they will also go. Then I encourage the plant now to produce side shoots, and then it gets bushier and nicer and better, and then I'm going to have a wonderful big patch of these Coleus. In terms of soil, they are not really fuzzy, so they really cope well just with a normal neutral garden soil. I'm a little bit on the sandy side here, but I have improved the soil in this particular area where I planted these last year and where I plant the others today as well with you. So I just came in with fresh bags of good garden compost, and that just did the job. One thing that they don't really appreciate is they do not like to dry out. So Coleus is one of those plants that is very happy when it is on a consistent water level. Nothing here is in irrigation, but since I have a thick layer of mulch, once I water something, the moisture stays in the ground fairly well, and the Coleus was extremely happy with that situation last year. So if in doubt, and if you don't mind mulch, maybe that is a good idea for your own garden as well. So what I want to do now is finally get to the planting. Speaking of like having them at a good water level, they are a little bit on the dry side, so after planting I definitely need to come in, water everything extremely well, and when I plant them, as I always do, I'm not going to explain it further to you now, I just come in, plant them dead level as they are in the containers. I always put just some organic bone chips in there just for the nitrogen level so that these plants develop good roots, even though they're not going to develop very strong and good and robust roots here, because Coleus, they come from an area more of the subtropics and tropics, so I'm clearly not in the subtropics or tropics here, so that means they're not hardy here. I could kind of like overwinter them if I wanted to in a greenhouse or obviously inside, but I think I'm going to plant roughly 30, a little over 30 Coleus plants a day, so I'm not going to put my entire windowsill full with Coleus plants, so I'm going to enjoy them as long as they last, but I can tell you once the first frost comes, they're going to be mushy, and then I can just pull them out, but that is what it is. So up until that happens, they're going to make me very happy, so let's start the planting. All right, all the Coleus are planted. I think it looks really nice, and what makes me even more happy is that when I give you a tour now how everything looks, there is an impact, obviously, even though they're still kind of small, but you can see what they are going to be like and how it is going to work, because I think what I'm going to do tomorrow, or well, maybe the video after, I will continue planting my annuals, those that I grow from seed, and it is a good time now to finally get my amaranth into the ground. Plants are cute, but again, they're not like really big, huge impact. So I hope you enjoy the impact of today's video. And it is a good time to show to you now because the sun of the afternoon is just perfect and the red Coleus really glows in the sun like rubies. One last thing I forgot to mention is the size of Coleus. Rule of thumb is they grow between 30 to 60 centimeters, which is in inches 12. Yeah, 12 to something. Here, definitely 30 centimeters. I'm not delusional. I even asked in the garden center and the woman also said, yeah, 30 centimeters. I think 60 is really when you are in a warmer climate. They just really are exposed just to like nicer, warmer temperatures also during the night. But it is perfect. You know, they really grow to this wonderful carpet. It's going to be beautiful drift in there. What I'm going to do now is take you with me to the back again and quickly show you how everything looks. Normally the rule of thumb of taking videos is do not try and film something in the basking sun. But I think here actually it works fairly well because you really get to see and enjoy the color of the Coleus, and isn't it just fantastic in the afternoon sun? It really is like ruby red glowing, beautiful, what an impact. I can only imagine how wonderful it is going to look later on in the year when all of these plants grew together into a carpet. I planted them quite close because I really want to have a big impact. I do not want to see a single bit of mulch when we are in August, latest, hopefully already in July. And I think just look at the back with the Aqualegia in this beautiful purple tone dancing in the wind. I think they're just like a wonderful combination with the red Coleus. And then later on in the year, I'm going to have the asters there and the Veronicastrum already looking very proud and upright. Gorgeous, and already from the distance they really seem to glow and brighten up this entire area here, so I'm really happy with the decision to put those here. I try and give you a visual from the back as well. I hope it's going to work. I hope you got to see something at least. I hope you can see anything, but I still tried to share my thought process with you. So you're just looking at the island bed now. To the left, there is a walnut tree and a nice clump of bearded iris. But what I already like is in the front, I have a big drift of Japanese bloodgrass, which already starts to tint up. So just here. And then as the year progresses, I'm going to have globe thistles in there and asters. And then in the back, you see already the beautiful drift of blue, which is catmint, walker's low again, and then next to it, now comes my finger, there is a Coleus. I can see something shining red there. I'm not really sure if you can, but as they're gonna pick up some growth in the afternoon, they will definitely be beautiful, right? Do you think they're beautiful? You think they're nice, right? And once we're in the island bed, I just want to show you the second drift of Coleus. So if we walk around, there is a nice curve with more nepeta here. And then there will be sedums. They are going to flower pink, really wonderful, more blush actually. It's a really subtle, wonderful shape of color. And then there is a drift of Coleus. To be fair, it's the same effect that I had last year when I planted them. Just because of the foliage color and the mulch, they kind of seem to disappear and kind of like melt into the mulch a little bit, but this is just going to be a situation for maybe 3-4 weeks, and then all these gaps will be closed and they're going to look so beautiful, especially with the bistorta in the back there. Once they're really going to pick up more growth, the old clump already looks a lot better. And first bloom in June, beginning of June, and they start to flower. And this is a perennial that starts flowering now up until the first frost. So they really produce blooms for at least 5 to 6 months, which is just amazing. Do you remember that early on in the year I was planting 4 corners with you? This is a variety called Variegata because of the leaf variegation. They come to bloom now, very delicate and beautiful, but they came with a little bit of surprise. So this is how they're supposed to look, and 2 of them look like this. So basically 2 of the plants had wrong labels on there, so they are not variegata. So what I'm going to do is I will replace them because I really want to have just one variety. I don't like to have mixed messages. So when I went to the garden center, I bought 2 more of the variegata variety. So happy with that. Look at all of that, by the way. All the amaranth really started to picking a lot of growth. Oh, there's one more beautiful thing I just want to show you before it fades away. Remember, I planted another shrub back here, which is gonna bloom, and this is how the flowers look like. Isn't that brilliant? So exotic, kind of like water lilies in a way. I love them. When I came back from Amsterdam, the blooms just opened. I was like, oh, that is perfect. Love them. There's another bud here. So happy about that. I wasn't expecting a single bloom to this year, but yeah, this is what I'm going to plant with you in the next video. Aren't they all looking fantastic? This is going to be another day though, so what I'm going to do just to enjoy the beautiful sun here at the back of the garden on the slope is I'll replace 2 of the corners there. That's it for today's video, and I'm very sure that this is not the first video that you ever saw about Coleus, but still I think whoever plants it and puts it in a garden, you always find different plant neighbors and planting combinations. So maybe this was inspiring for you, and I could encourage you to head to the garden center on your own and just try and get some Coleus. Alfie is already kind of like in a playing mood. Well, already, she's always in a playing mood, but clearly she's kind of like, all right, stop the stupid talking and play with me, and this is exactly what I want to do now. So I'm just going to say thank you so much for watching today's video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'd love to see you in my garden very soon again. Take care, guys.